Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Another quick game of interplanetary ice spy going on here. Now we're on Ceres today. I was sent in an interesting picture by one of my subscribers called Bacchus Lee. So many thanks to him for this particular image that he pointed me to. I'll show you this one first because this was interesting. Now I've got links to all these images as usual up here, and they will be below in the description, so you can download these images yourself and take a look yourself, and you will see that I haven't made any of this up. These are in the images, these things. So this is the first one, Ceres Southern Hemisphere in survey. Okay, and really you want the TIFF image for this, which is better quality than the JPEG. It goes into a bit of detail about the different structures associated with impacts and craters and that kind of thing here, so you can you can read up on that. So let's crack on with it straight away because there's a lot to cover here. Here is the image, the original image. Let's get the TIFF version. That's the TIFF version there, which is not bad quality at all. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. And the tower, possible tower, is in this crater here, this large crater, bottom right corner. So we zoom in here, zoom in again, and zoom in again. There we are. There's a tower. Now this may be an optical illusion, but bearing in mind the other things that have been spotted on Ceres, such as the lights and other strange structures, I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually a tower. I don't see why it shouldn't be. You have a long straight structure here with a shadow of it here, which obviously sticks up quite a long way. And there's obviously a structure here which we can't see very well, which is casting a shadow across here. So this here is a tower, and that is the shadow from it. There may well be a ridge along here as well that was casting a slight shadow there, but to me it looks pretty much like a tower. I have found very similar looking structures on our moon, and lots of other people have as well, and this may be very large. I don't know the scale of this. I'll work it out, and this may well be a kilometre long, this shadow here, possibly two. I will do a bit of research and put the details in the description below for you to give you an idea of scale, because people are always saying how big's this, how big's that. Not always that easy to tell, but I will put it in and work it out. It should say somewhere in the original image information about the scale of it. So there we go. It looks like a tower, and this is completely raw. I haven't done anything to this image. I did do an enhancement of it just to show a bit of colour in there, just to bring it out a bit more. All I've done is increase the colour temperature there. I haven't actually added any colour. I've just heated it up a bit to give it a bit of warmth, so you can actually see that shadow. It does look interesting, but it could be an optical illusion, as a lot of these things turn out to be. We never really know. But thanks to Bacchus for that. Bacchus Lee sent that in. That's well worth checking out. So you can download that image and have a look yourself. There may be other stuff in there as well, which I haven't really dug into yet. There is also this thing which I found fairly recently. This is Ceres again. Now this is from PIA 19603. So you can just Google that, and the page will come up, but I'll have a link to it anyway down below. I haven't got it up right now, the page, because I've got a lot of stuff to get through here. There's what looks like, now here's the actual image rotated. Now I've just rotated that left, and there is a square crater. Now when on Earth or anywhere else have you ever seen a square crater? It's not completely square. This part is rounded, but this top edge, and I think this part here, is pretty much square. Now, could anyone explain to me how that could happen naturally? Because I've never seen anything like it, and I've been looking at moon images and planetary images for many, many years now, probably about 25, 30 years, and I've never seen a square-edged crater before. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And there's also something interesting in here, in this crater above it, what may be some intelligent structures here. I haven't dug into that properly yet. I will I will sharpen this up and see what comes out there. But that was interesting. I'll show you it a bit closer. There's a bit of a closer clip of it. Raw clip. No enhancements done on this whatsoever. A square crater. And that edge is almost perfectly straight, as is this one. And then it just curves around here. A bit vague. What could possibly cause that? Here it is again in negative, just to show the contours. Okay, straight edge there. So there we go. That was a weird one. So that was PIA 19603 from Ceres. Links will be below. Okay, let's leave that one now. And the main thing was, I wanted to show you, this image has just come down, and I always have this as a shortcut on my toolbar here. I have 7 days. It's called photojournal.jpl.nasa.gov/new. Okay, now you can get this from my app. If you download my free app, you'll get this on there. And this will give you any of the latest images that are coming down from NASA, from various different probes and satellites around Mars and Earth and Ceres, and you've got all sorts of stuff here. Really cool this is. You get to see them straight away as they come in, but they're only up for a week on here before they're replaced. So you've got to keep an eye on this page every day. I look at it twice a day and download any interesting images straight away before they disappear, because obviously they don't stay on the site for very long. So you just click on the image, and here's the main image there for the Ceres lights. Got it up there, and this is actually quite a good image. It's quite close and shows more detail than we've seen before on these particular lights. And they are called lights. Everyone's calling them lights. NASA tend to say, bright spots or use words like that when they talk about them. But if you look in all the press and all the articles about them, everyone's calling them lights. Now, lights do not make themselves. Lights are manufactured. Lights cannot just evolve randomly on a moon or a small planetary body. They must have been put there. Assuming they are lights, of course, they may not be. They may be some kind of mineral deposit or ice. But if you've seen any of my previous videos about Ceres and Pluto, you'll know that these things are probably not natural. Now, here's a clip. Here's a raw clip of those lights. Now, this does look like a mountain area here at the bottom, this large area. Now, this is a composite image. It does say in the image information this is made up of 2 images, a long exposure and a short exposure overlaid. So there's 2 images, one on top of the other here, which gives us more depth of light and dark. So we're seeing a lot more detail around these lights here, because it was basically too bright for the camera. These lights were so bright that they had to do a very short exposure to lower the brightness of these lights, because otherwise it would just bleach out the whole image. So that in itself says a lot, because basically ice or snow or mineral deposits are never that bright, never so bright that they have to come up with some kind of trickery to even take photographs of the area. I mean, this is quite extraordinary, really. The fact that they had to do that says to me that these are extremely bright. And there are images where they've taken very short exposures or shown the lights in when the part of the planet is in shadow, and they still are extremely bright, even in the darks, even in shadow. So they're much brighter than random snow, ice, or mineral deposits. Much brighter. But when you look at the raw image up here, the first thing I noticed, now I do appreciate this is a composite image made up of 2 photographs. The first thing I noticed was this long thing here, really straight, long, dark line, and what seems to be a light line going straight across it there like a bridge. Now, I appreciate this is a bit pixelated. I have enlarged this, so it's a little bit smoother than it would probably look. And there's also this rather large sort of almost rectangular shape here, and a long thing here, like a long rectilinear shaped thing. There's lots of this stuff in here. Now I appreciate a lot of this is down to pixelation because this is taken at quite a distance, and obviously digital images are made up of lots of tiny little squares, and they do tend to make everything look squarer than they actually are. I do appreciate that. So a lot of this smaller detail in here, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is down to pixelation. I know this. I've had a lot of people telling me, oh, you're just sharpening up pixelation and all this sort of thing. Yes, but I always say a lot of this is down to pixelation, but there are structures here that look like they're not. So, and one of the things I did notice up here was that there seemed to be some missing data here. There's a completely blurred out area here, and that made me suspicious. That looks to me, looks like it's been deliberately fudged out by NASA, which is something they do with Mars images and Moon images. We know that from the past. Anyone who's done independent research on these planetary bodies will know that NASA do mess with these images, and they do block stuff out, smudge stuff out, or blur it out, or even just put fake sand over it like they do on Mars. So this is an established fact. Anyone who says otherwise hasn't done the research and hasn't really looked. That this does happen and has been happening for a very long time, in fact, for decades now. So anyone who says otherwise is lying because they haven't done the research. Right, okay, so I took that clip, that's an enlarged clip of the area, and I enhanced the contrast to try and bring out some more of this detail. Now you can start to see that this is getting interesting. This hasn't been sharpened or anything, this is just contrast up. And you can see a structure here and here, and you have this long, straight, road-like structure with what could be a bridge there. Now, I appreciate you still can't see that much detail here, but there is a lot of pixelation in here. I appreciate that. Now I'll show you the third enhanced image. Now I've turned up the color temperature here, and I've sharpened it this time. And what I do is I don't sharpen the whole image, because you can actually see that around the edge it's quite smooth and quite dark, and you can see pixelation in there. But a lot of this is just pixelation. I do appreciate that. And the same goes for these areas here, because basically we know that digital camera images are made up of lots of tiny squares, and things do tend to look more rectangular and more square than they should, especially at distance. But there are some quite interesting things in here. This thing, for instance, which is this what could be a building here, long rectangular structure, and some long structure coming off of it here. You can see that light structure there, and the possible road here seems to have something going across it, like a bridge. This dark line here with a light structure going across, and there's lots of this all over this image. And when you get in close, you start seeing all sorts of things, but a lot of it is actual pixelation, and it's difficult sometimes to tell the difference between what is real and what is just camera artifacts from the pixelation. So what I'll do is I'll put it up in my graphics processor here. I've got it up here already, actually. Now I've done a little bit of sharpening on this. I've really darkened it, and I've upped the color temperature just to make it easier to look at, because I think in the black and white it's a bit hard to see some of this stuff. But if you go in and just gently sharpen it with a hand sharpening tool like I've got here on a very low setting, it's only on 15 hardness, it's very low, so this is nice gentle sharpening here. Instead of sharpening up the whole image and making it break up, this just subtly highlights some of the structures very subtly, like this. And the main one was this one here, for me. Very straight structure indeed. Now, there's lots of pixels in there, so this isn't just down to pixelation. This is actually there, a long straight structure, as is this here. And there seems to be a long dark line, almost like a road structure, and here, with what looks like a bridge here, and another one here. And the one I really liked was this one at the top here, which is very straight indeed. That is absolutely ruler straight, this structure here, as you can see. And there's something going right across it there. Very interesting, very interesting. And there's all sorts of structures in here. When you start to sharpen it, a lot of the smaller stuff is just pixelation, of course. I keep saying that because people do vilify me for this, and I do get verbally crucified on YouTube for suggesting this may be a city, and it may well be. You know, lights do not grow by themselves. Lights are manufactured, and they are intelligent, and they don't just happen randomly in nature. There must be something causing these lights, and I would say this is probably a city. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not going to say 100% this is a city, but I'm about 80% convinced that this is. But you know, that's up to you. If you want to believe that or not, it's up to you. I can't prove it is, but nobody can prove it isn't either. So where does that leave us? So basically, I'll try not to go on too long now. I'm starting to ramble a bit here. There are definitely some intelligent structures here. I don't really see how pixelation can be the cause of all of this stuff, because there's just too much when you get in close. I mean, that one particularly, this long structure here, this one here, and this one at the top here, that says to me intelligent design. And there's lots and lots of stuff here. Now, when you push it too hard with the sharpening, if you go really hard like this, it just breaks up completely. So you've got to be gentle with it. But a lot of these things do look extremely symmetrical and long, straight, rectilinear structures. And this is from a TIFF image, so it shouldn't break up and pixelate as much as a JPEG. So these are not JPEG artifacts, because it's not a JPEG. But one thing I did find rather suspicious is that the pixel density of the original image is only, of the TIFF, which is this one here on the right, is only 72 dots per inch. Now, I find that rather suspect, because normally TIFF should be at least 200. Now, funny enough, the JPEG here, which is lower quality, being compressed, is actually 200 dots per inch. Now, why they've done that, I don't know. So there's actually less pixels in the TIFF image than there are in the JPEG. Now, it should be the other way around, if anything. So I don't know what they've done there. If I put it into, I'll get the JPEG first, and we'll just have a look at it. Shift S, go size. Now, I was going to resize it, but if you look, resolution 200 pixels per inch. Okay, now that's a JPEG. And when you zoom into this, it gets very blurred, and there's lots of information missing where it's been compressed. Okay, especially up here, lots of information missing. And there's that spot that looks like just here it's been fudged out. Okay, now when I get the ping, which should be at least 200 dots per inch, this is the ping, not the ping, sorry, the TIFF image, my mistake. Let's go to size, and it's only 72. So they've actually reduced the amount of pixel information in the image for some reason, and then they claim it's the most highly detailed, high-resolution picture we've ever seen of the possible lights on Ceres. Well, why is it only 72 dpi? Why are they doing this? Do they really want us to see any detail or not? I don't think they do. I think they're fudging the whole thing. And in fact, even in this image, you can see just here, let's change that, just here in the raw image, that looks to have been smudged over. It's very blurred. They've used a blur tool on there. But that may be something to do with the processing. This is made up of two images, one long exposure and one short exposure image overlaid. So who knows for sure, but there are definitely some structures here. And when you add to that the other anomalies, which I've just showed you, the square crater, which is absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like this before. A square crater. Okay, and then you've got the possible tower, which I showed you a minute ago, which I've now lost, which is here somewhere. There it is. Okay, there's the tower. There, it does look like there may have been, or may even still be, life on Ceres, and why not? An intelligent civilization could live absolutely anywhere in our solar system. People say, oh, it's too cold on Pluto, it's too cold here, it's too hot there. Well, maybe so, on the surface. But an intelligent, highly advanced culture could live absolutely anywhere. They could land on the surface with a large ship, and they could whack a drill straight into the ground, and they could extract water from under the surface. Also, geothermal heat from below the surface. You do not need to walk around on the surface like we do on Earth to survive on a planet. You can live in some kind of habitation, or on a ship that's landed, or underground in a sort of prefabricated underground city, or something like that. And that may well be what we're seeing here with Ceres. A lot of these cameras do see into near infrared, and I do wonder if a lot of the stuff we're seeing is not actually all on the surface. Some of it may well be subsurface detail that's showing through. There may be a lot of dust on the surface that we're seeing through. No, that's the raw image, we don't want that one. Let's go back in here. Now this one I've worked on quite a lot. What I will do in a minute, I will clip some of this out. I'll take some clips of this and I'll stick them in at the end of the video, like I normally do with my videos, so you can see these details. Now obviously like I said, a lot of this is where the image is breaking up, but there's definitely something here, and it doesn't all look natural to me. And I know a lot of you will probably agree with me when you look at it yourself. All you've really got to do is increase the contrast in the image, and these things start to pop out, and then sharpen it a bit. There's some crazy stuff in here. Some of these structures are miles and miles long. It's crazy. So, and it looks like my graphics card is struggling with this because I've enlarged it. So I'll call it a day there, folks. I will put, like I said, I'll put more of this in at the end. Is this a city on Ceres? Could be. Don't see why not. Is this a tower that I just showed you? Could be. Certainly looks like a very long shadow, which is probably 1 or 2 kilometers long, that shadow. Could well be. And what the hell is with this square crater, which I keep coming back, like every time I look at this, I just cannot fathom it. I really cannot. This surely cannot be natural. And there seems to be some interesting square structures in here. I'll do a few more enhancements on these images and put them in at the end. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.